who are the working poor families that you're supporting? Are those people that just have not been able to reach middle class, or?
28% of all working families in the United States do not make enough money to be economically self-sufficient. And we say working, so we don't even include in that 28% those folks who are not involved in work. We take those who are involved in work, and we have a pretty rigid definition of work. They have to be in the workplace for 39 weeks out of the year. So these are people who, like I say, they get up every day and they go to work. They try to make ends meet. They do what we expect every working family to do in this country, and still the wages that they're able to get are not sufficient to support a family of four.
Ruthie, when you go to meet with lawmakers or legislators, do you think there's a misperception of who these families are, who the working poor families are?
I think people are really surprised that child care workers, office workers, folks that hold down full-time jobs working in retail, that they would have struggles meeting their daily living expenses. But our organization, we put out a family budget, and we're able to show these lawmakers that, sure, if you're earning $10 or $12 an hour, we're one of the states with the highest cost for housing, and we break down, this is what housing costs, this is what childcare costs, this is what it costs to get to work. And we really open a lot of eyes. I think that people have no idea that there are folks that are working so hard, many in two jobs, two full-time jobs, or might be two workers in the family holding down 3 or 4 jobs, and are still having to pay for some of their daily expenses on their credit cards, going into debt. A lot of people losing their homes right now because they can't make their mortgage payments. So we really have uncovered a group of people, as Brandon said, who've been playing by the rules. And not only that, but they want to do better. They very, very much want to get more education and training, and they've been blocked out of that as well. The folks that we're talking about in the lowest 20% of earners in Massachusetts, if they want to go to a public community college in Massachusetts, they're going to have to spend more than 60% of their annual income just paying for their tuition and fees. So it's absolutely a struggle for working families to do the right thing.
And can I just back to my issue about the system not working well for those families? We've got a system of financial aid for low-income folks, but typically that financial aid is available if you want to go to school full-time. Well, the head of a working family can't afford to go to school full-time. They have to do their job, and they want to take a class or two during the week. Well, for some reason, that financial aid, they're not eligible to receive that because they would be, quote unquote, a part-time student. And that's the type of thing that we want to change the system and say, we're not saying take away, we're saying add the part-time adult worker to this as well. And we've had some good success. Jason can talk about it.
I was going to say, that issue it hits home for us, because in Maryland, before last year, in order to qualify for certain types of financial aid, you had to be a full-time student. Even though you met the income criteria, simply because you were not full-time, which they had a very, the tightest definition of what full-time meant, you just couldn't qualify. So again, really learning about these issues with the Working Poor Families Project, we were able to come to our legislature and say, we're not asking, in this case, we'd love to have more money in the financial aid program, but right now we're just, in this fiscal climate, we're just talking about expanding the eligibility criteria so that someone who is eligible but is going to school for 12 hours in college credits can still be eligible for financial assistance. And again, legislators had no idea. They just assumed that if you qualify financially for financial aid, that you'll get it as long as the funds are available. And so when we brought this issue to them with the data and the report, their eyes were open. The bill passed actually quite easily.
Right. I just wanted to add that we have women that are eager to get jobs in the healthcare sector, and there are many unfilled jobs in Massachusetts. A lot of those jobs just require a certificate from a community college. Again, our women were shut out of those financial aid programs because those are non-degree programs. They're certificate programs for respiratory therapists or other very good jobs that would lead someone to the middle class. And so again, we've been out there saying, if you want to build the economy in Massachusetts and raise our economic development in the state, we need to fill these jobs. We need to allow people to get the training to enter those jobs that are out there.
Your latest report, Building a Foundation for Family Economic Success. What do you hope people take away from that?
Well, I think one of the things that we hope that they take away is that strengthening state policies on behalf of low-income working families is possible. The evidence is in the report. It's in the work of our state groups. So there is hope and there is opportunity to do that, is number one. Two, I think kind of the way that we focus our work and the issues that we care about, we give a lot of attention to education and skills development for working adults. I know we give a lot of attention in this country to improving, strengthening the K through 12 system. One of the things I think when you read this report and see the type of work our state groups are doing is you come to recognize that there's a whole adult workforce out there that many of those adults don't have the education and skills to compete, to succeed in today's economic environment, to meet the needs of businesses. As the businesses are becoming more sophisticated, they need workers that have the skills to go along with the type of activities they do. And so when you see the work that our groups are doing, the type of policy issues that you're focusing on, you start, I hope, to get a sense that we really need to think about adult workers and improving their skill levels as well.
Let me just throw this out to all of you as a concluding question. What does the future look like for the working poor families in this nation?
It's a very challenging time. I mean, there's no kind of understating that. The recession has been here. We've seen. We'll be producing our data, updating our data, if you will, come the first of 2010, and I think the 28% number that I referred to earlier, unfortunately, I think it's going to increase, and in fact, it has been increasing since we first started in this project. So the environment of low-income working families and kind of the thought in this country that if you just work hard, you can get ahead, has not proven to be the case. And I think as the global economy expands, as technology becomes more a key part of work, that working families are continued to be challenges. And until we all succeed, which I'm not sure will happen anytime in the near term in terms of really strengthening those systems on their behalf, the post-secondary, the community college system, the adult education system, family leave issues. I don't know, there's an article in the Washington Post this morning about the impact of H1N1 on workers who don't have access to sick leave. And do they show up? Does the company really want them to show up? If you're, have a server providing you a meal at a restaurant, you're kind of hoping they didn't show up that day. But that's a key issue. So there's a lot of issues that, unfortunately, as much progress as I feel like we've made, the challenge is still a very steep one in terms of all the policy issues that we have to address.
Would you concur in Massachusetts, Ruthie?
I would concur. I mean, I think on a day-to-day basis, it's a struggle. And don't forget, the families that we're concerned about, they entered the recession in bad condition, and their situation has worsened. But I think if we can look to the national level, there's a tremendous amount of hope. We have a president who's announced his commitment that every adult in every person in the United States should have at least 1 year of higher education. And that's a real affirmation for the work that we're doing. And there is movement in Congress for funding for community college initiatives that are geared toward working adults and to help them upgrade their skills. So I think if we can get past these rough years, there's a growing movement in agreement with the work that we're doing. And now it's not just at the state level, it's at the national level. So I think it keeps us going, gives us some hope.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's no doubt that the challenges are immense. But I do think that in crisis there is opportunity. And I think the opportunity here is that due to the recession, a lot of people either have been laid off or at least feel less secure in their jobs and are more interested than ever in training opportunities and opportunities to enhance their skills. And so I think that the idea of increasing investment in training and education is picking up steam, and I think there's a sort of a groundswell of opinion coming forth that we need to do better and we need to do more, or we're not going to be competitive, both on the individual basis, but also as a state and as a nation.
Okay. I want to thank you all for joining us today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.